If you're looking for a holiday project to display your Christmas village, stick around. Over the years, I have acquired quite a collection of Christmas village pieces, as you can see. I needed a good way to display them, and I didn't really have a way in the past, so I did some research and decided I wanted to make something like a Christmas tree shaped shelf. So this is what I came up with. I am going to show you how I built it in case you're interested. First, let's take a look at the supplies. Okay, here's what I used for my project. I started off with 2 sheets of 4x8 MDF at 1/2 inch. You could also use plywood, I just chose to use MDF. I also used 1x2s for the cleats. I used door hinges to attach the 2 wings together. Some of the tools I used were wood glue, 1-inch screws. I used my pencil for marking, my cordless drill with a driver bit. If you don't have a cordless drill, you can also just use a regular screwdriver. I also used a hammer and a finishing nail, tape measure, ruler, sandpaper to soften the edges, clamps to hold things in place because I don't have but 2 hands, a circular saw, a jigsaw, some white paint. And that's pretty much all I needed. Okay, now that we have our supplies all gathered, it's time to choose which wood you want to use and cut your wood to size. I chose a 4x8 sheet of MDF. It's just easier, it's more smooth and ready to go for me to paint it. You can choose plywood if you want, it's just your choice. It comes in a 4x8 sheet of plywood. I know that for the space that I'm using, I want it to be 3 feet base at the bottom and 5 feet tall. So I'm going to cut off 1 foot on the length of it and then 3 feet on the side of it. Then I'm going to cut it down to 2 right angles going diagonal from one corner to the other. Because this is such a long piece of wood, I only have a 4-foot ruler. I'm just using 1x3 to be able to have a straight line. Okay, since I didn't want to work with this on my table saw because it's a pretty big piece of wood, I decided to go ahead and do it on the driveway. I put 2x4s underneath so I don't end up cutting the driveway. And then I put a fence up with that same board that I drew the line, just so that I could make a nice straight cut. Okay, the next step is to mark where I want to put the shelves. The reason I need to mark it first is I need to know how big of a radius to make each shelf. I know I want my first shelf to be 4 inches up from the bottom, so I'm going to mark that one first and cut it. Now I'm just cutting the cleats that the shelves are going to sit on. I'm using 1x2s and I'm just cutting them to length. My next step is to glue and screw these cleats in place. Once I put the glue on the bottom, it wants to get slippery, so I'm going to clamp them in place so they don't walk away from me while I'm trying to screw them in. Okay, I've measured and I know that my bottom shelf needs to be 34 and a quarter inch, so I'm just cutting it off just like I did with the other piece so that I have a smaller piece to work with. Okay, since I don't have a tool, I jerry-rigged my 4-foot ruler to use as a giant compass. I know where I need to keep my mark at 34 7/8. And I'm just going to follow it around. There's a hole at the edge of my ruler. I clamped the thumbtack in so that it won't slip. And then I'm just going to gently go around right along my line. There we go. Easy peasy. Now I'm going to use my jigsaw to cut out the radius that I just marked. Here we go. First of all, Kaya wants to be on camera, so here she is. She's a little jealous that we're not paying attention to her. I have temporarily installed my hinges. I'm going to take them off when I paint the backs and then put them back on permanently. But so I needed to put it together so that I could see how high I wanted up the second shelf. I needed to take my tallest pieces and lay them in there and kind of set them up and see how much room so that you could see into each shelf. So I'm going to set that one at 18 inches, the next one at 15, the next one at 12, and then probably 12 again. Now that we've determined where we want the rest of the shelves to go, we need to measure what length we want the cleats. When we did the first set of cleats, we put them all the way to the edge, and then because they were all the way at the edge when they were laying flat, we couldn't fold it the way we wanted to fold it, so we had to cut an inch off. So when I take my measurement, I'm going to subtract an inch. Okay, just like before, I'm using my miter saw to cut the cleats. Okay, just like the first one, we're going to glue and screw them all in with Kaya's help. Give me 5. That was not 5. Okay, now that I have all my cleats in place, I went back with a ruler and measured exactly what each shelf radius needs to be. Marked it down on paper, and we're going to go cut them. Okay, you can see all the shelves are up and put in. Now we're going to take it apart and paint everything. Okay, we have everything painted. We wanted a way to make sure that the shelves were not going to slide around, but also be easily removable. So I got the Velcro command strips. I'm going to put it on the shelves and then remove the tape. They're already stuck together. So I'm going to put it on the shelves and then remove the tape from the other part and set it down right on the cleats. That'll line them up perfectly. So as you can see, it was a pretty easy build. Simple tools to use. If you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. And consider subscribing because I do have more Christmas projects up my sleeve. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Tailor Made Workshop. Okay, just like the bottom one, we're going to glue it. Over the years, I've collected a lot of Like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you